So I had the most charming conversation with this eloquent man who was headed to Paris from Stockholm. Det är aldrig för sent att ge upp. That is never, it is never too late to give up. Det är aldrig för sent att ge upp. And it was about, he and the other fellow were saying, oh, this is so typically Swedish, everybody's just waiting in line, everything's totally inefficient, everybody's excited about the queue. And he was talking about what it was like to visit Eastern Europe or live in Eastern Europe before the fall. So it was really interesting to talk to him, and he was very informed of WikiLeaks and very fascinated about what's going on. And in contrast, I met today the totally sort of conservative guy who basically, I mean, really realistically, I could almost view it like he's a racist, neo-Nazi Swedish guy, but he was really informative in a way, and I really didn't agree with anything he said. So check this out. This is exactly today. This was released, and I haven't checked the internet for I need to turn this So I haven't checked the internet since about 10 this morning, and now here it is, 5:24. So the world has basically had 7 hours to process this, and I was looking at the last few days, but I thought I'd go over it with you because it really is a density issue in terms of the information. My fellow I was speaking to, the one who seemed kind of racist to me, he was saying, well, the trouble with I don't know, he was saying everything American media was saying, but just sort of like the Swedish version of it. But he was on his way to Bangkok, so who knows? Let's see what his interests are, where they lie. Lots of Brazil stuff, that's cool, like Sao Paulo. Madrid, unclassified for official use only, confidential, special envoy Reich to call on presidency. So this doesn't look as exciting as yesterday. Let's see. But I thought, it's kind of fun to check this out. The Swedish cables are really good. Ooh, wow, no, these are secret. Maybe we should look at secret. So just getting an idea of the functionality. I like the subject summaries, and then the dates. Those are critical as well. So here we have ISA Chief Diskin on situation in the Gaza Strip. Military Intelligence Director Yadlin comments on alleged nuclear smuggling incident in Bujumbura. Recent allegations of uranium trafficking in the Kinshasa. I gotta look at that one. Addendum to alleged nuclear smuggling in Burundi. U.S. burns. Wow, so these are a lot of them. Yesterday's cables. U.S. burns August 17 meeting with Israeli Mossad. Scene setter for President Bush's visit to Israel. From 2008, released yesterday. Allegation of nuclear material smuggling, Portugal, Embassy Lisbon. From 2008, Kodal Vexler's meeting with military intelligence, Kodal Kyle's meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu, Kodal's Ackerman and Casey meetings with Prime, PMAS Shapiro July 22-23 visit to Israel, Embassy Tel Aviv. From 2009, released yesterday. Scene setter for the visit of Deputy Secretary, 40th Joint Political Military Group Executive, Tel Aviv. Staffdel, Kriken, Comex meeting with PM Advisor. Blank sounds alarm over Sana. MDC focuses on security sector. Gano Uribe hears war drums in Venezuela. GWAT assessment Madrid feedback. The speculation on Fidel's health. That's an older one. That's 17. Uganda, Operation Rudia 2 update. AU summit. So what was really interesting this morning was reading all this sort of International Criminal Court coercive stuff regarding the Sudan detention and the financial political things that were being used to sway the public against him. So the attempted arrest warrant and extradition of him would be imminent because the populace would be tired of him. So basically it was interesting to see the International Criminal Court manipulating the publicity value of his Lloyd bank account in terms of money that he may have obtained unlawfully and been storing in British banks. So that was completely interesting because the United States is so disavowing of any kind of international law, and then realizing the mechanism of it. Scene setter for April 19, U.S.-India joint working, Roca Sanchez AP policy, internet access policy, U.S. interest section in Havana, embassy MEA hold productive, focused, Peru President Garcia's emotional and physical, embassy Lima, embassy New Delhi, scene setter India counterterrorism joint working, Indians offer bleak assessment of Afghanistan, New Delhi embassy. 2007, Sri Lanka, complicity in paramilitary, and that is torture. Kashmiri paramilitary seeking U.S. visa, embassy New Delhi, Sri Lanka, Tamil Tigers siphon off part of, an ailing and fragile Algerian regime drifts into following up with India on the graphite, Shield Syria arranging to acquire CW, men in tough on Pakistan, bullish on bilateral. India scene setter for special representative, Indian NSA shares desire for cooperation with Cuban minutes thought on travel law. Havana. Indian graphite supplier again doing business. Summit of the Americas. From the Mount of Minrex. Possible insight into doctors recant eyewitness accounts of civilian. That looks a little too... The 5 doctors who worked inside the final conflict zone, who released accounts of a situation and the numbers of killed and wounded civilians there, gave a press conference July 8th. The doctors said they were pressured by LTTE to release the casualty figures during the fighting, that in reality the number of killed and wounded civilians was much lower. Many international observers doubt the veracity of this confession, and casualty figures from other sources are inconsistent with the numbers given by the doctors at this press conference. Some have said the doctors were told they must make this sort of statement or be prosecuted for assisting LTTE. It is not known if they will in fact be released soon, but it appears that they have been treated well while in detention. See, okay, where is this? What is... Embassy London, sir. From Embassy Colombo to Washington, D.C., Secretary of State, Info, Dhaka, Islamabad, Kathmandu, London, New Delhi. So I think these are like the CCs. Hi. Okay, wow. Supposedly would be declassified 6/25/2019. What I think is interesting is that the level of information is so immense that international media, that it's enough to hold my attention, which most everything bores me. Like, I look at the New York Times and it looks like Dr. Seuss compared to this. This is actual information, and this is completely fascinating. And if there were a spike in IQ or human intelligence, we would need more information. We're smart primates, like our ancestors were picking ants and putting them in a row out of the ground, and this is information that is valuable for our understanding. And if all of time were over, if everything were bombed, and I had this information in my mind, I would be so much more enriched about how to deal with humans and how to deal with human safety or any kind of issues. See, international media and NGOs are skeptical of the doctor's statements at the news conference. Credible local NGO sources have said that the families were told the doctors may be released following such confessions, and they may have had to videotape individual confessions for the president. While it is difficult to pin down solid numbers on anything that happened in the last months of the conflict, other relatively verifiable sources of information are clearly at odds with these figures. The ICRC reported May 12 that since mid-February it had evacuated 14,000 sick or wounded civilians and the relatives. Unofficial UN estimates for Tamil civilian deaths over roughly the same January to mid-May time period are more than 10 times as high, between 7,000 and 8,000. Those UN estimates did not rigorously seek to exclude deaths of possible LTTE conscripts, but this is unlikely that a tenfold increase in the figures over what the doctors stated this week would be due solely to deaths of LTTE cadres mixed in with the civilian population. A particular concern is what will happen to the doctors if in fact they are released soon. The Humanitarian Law Project, a nonprofit in Los Angeles in the United States, had to sue Attorney General Eric Holder to be permitted to speak with the Tamil Tigers to reduce conflict, and their goal was to provide assistance. But due to the extreme levels of repression implicit in the Patriot Act, regime aiding and abetting a designated terrorist group would put the Humanitarian Law Project in the U.S.'s eyes they would be participating in global terrorism, which the whole argument of the case is very significant. It was reported in California's Daily Journal regarding we are attempting to create a pattern of communication such that we can negotiate peacekeeping. That is not the same as aiding and abetting the so-called terrorist group. So I think that pertains to all of this very particularly, but it also pertains to the level of information repression, where barred lawyers in the United States cannot participate in international law to the level they would like to, because the United States has such a regime of information lockdown. Okay, so that's that for this broadcast. I hope you have enjoyed this cable and you're checking out the WikiLeaks on a regular basis.